The rain hadn't stopped for 3 weeks, and Maya Chen was beginning to forget what dry clothes felt like. She sat hunched over her laptop in the abandoned server room of Axiom Technologies, where she'd worked until the company folded 6 months ago. Technically, she was trespassing, but security had stopped caring when the paychecks bounced. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, desperately searching through old backup drives for anything salvageable. Portfolio work, client files, proof she'd once been good at something. The power grid was unreliable now, flickering on and off like a dying heartbeat, and she knew she didn't have much time before the building lost electricity completely. That's when she found it. Buried in a corrupted folder dated 3 years back was a series of encrypted messages, still transmitting. Actively transmitting. Her breath caught. Someone was using their old satellite uplink, sending signals in a pattern she'd never seen before. Not random, but not any standard protocol either. The building groaned around her, and she heard footsteps echoing from the stairwell. "Hello?" a man's voice called out, cautious but not aggressive. "Is someone up here?" Maya's heart jumped. She quickly saved the data to her portable drive and stood, grabbing her flashlight. "Just me. I used to work here." A figure appeared in the doorway, tall and rain-soaked, wearing a reflective vest over civilian clothes. He had kind eyes, tired eyes, the kind that had seen too much disappointment lately. "Daniel Rivers, Emergency Coordination Team. We're doing final sweeps before they condemn this sector. Whole foundation's compromised." "How long do I have?" Maya asked, glancing at her equipment. "Maybe an hour. 2 if we're lucky." He stepped closer, noticing her setup. "What are you doing up here?" She hesitated. Trust was currency now, and she didn't know this man. But something about the way he waited, patient and genuinely curious, made her answer. "Trying to salvage my past, I guess. Found something strange though. Someone's broadcasting from our satellite." Daniel's expression shifted, surprise flickering across his features. "Broadcasting what?" "I don't know yet. It's encrypted, but the pattern repeats every 47 minutes. Almost like." She pulled up the visualization on her screen, like coordinates. "Or maybe instructions." He moved beside her, studying the display with unexpected intensity. "Can you decode it?" "Maybe. Given time and better equipment." Maya looked at him. "Why do you care?" Daniel was quiet for a moment, then pulled out a worn photograph from his jacket. A young woman with his same eyes smiled from the image. "My sister Elena went missing 8 months ago. She was working on something with community networks, trying to help people coordinate after the infrastructure collapsed. This looks like something she'd create." The building shuddered, and dust rained from the ceiling. "We need to leave," Daniel said, but his hand remained on the table near her laptop. "Can you take that data with you?" Maya nodded, ejecting her drive. "Where would we even work on this? Power's out everywhere." "I know a place," he said. "The relief station has a generator. It's not much, but the team might let us use it during off hours." She studied his face, searching for ulterior motives and finding only desperate hope. The same hope she'd been running on for months, the stubborn belief that tomorrow might be different than today. "Okay," Maya said finally. "Let's go." They descended the dark stairwell together as the rain pounded harder against the windows. Neither of them knew it yet, but that simple agreement would change everything. Sometimes salvation comes not from grand gestures or ancient powers, but from 2 broken people deciding to trust each other in the ruins. Behind them, the server room's lights flickered one last time before going dark. But the signal continued transmitting, waiting for someone to finally hear its message. The relief station occupied what used to be a community center, now transformed into a maze of cots, supply crates, and desperate faces. Daniel led Maya through the crowded main hall, nodding to volunteers who looked as exhausted as everyone else. In the back corner, behind a makeshift partition of plastic sheeting, sat a cramped office with a humming generator and exactly 3 power outlets. It's not much, Daniel said, clearing papers from the desk. But it's reliable. We keep the generator running 24/7 for medical equipment. Maya set up her laptop, fingers already itching to dive back into the encrypted data. How long have you been doing this? The relief work. Since the collapse started. I was an architect before, designing buildings that'll never get built now. He pulled up a chair beside her. Seemed like my skills were useless until I realized I could map evacuation routes, identify structural risks. Help people survive instead of helping them dream. There was something beautiful about his resignation, the way he transformed loss into purpose. Maya understood that. I designed communication networks for corporations who thought quarterly profits mattered more than people. Guess we both learned what really counts. Her screen flickered to life, displaying the signal pattern. She pulled up decryption software, ancient programs she'd cobbled together from open-source code. This might take hours. Maybe days. I've got time, Daniel said softly. Haven't had hope in a while. This feels like hope. They worked in comfortable silence, broken only by the generator's steady rhythm and occasional voices from beyond the partition. Maya ran algorithm after algorithm, watching patterns emerge and dissolve. Daniel brought her coffee that tasted like burnt cardboard and felt like heaven. Around midnight, something clicked. There, Maya whispered, leaning forward. It's not random. It's layered. 3 different encryption methods stacked on each other. Daniel moved closer, and she became aware of his presence, warm and solid beside her. Can you break through? The outer layer just cracked. Look, text began appearing on screen, fragmentary but readable. Coordinates, yes, but also instructions. Frequency settings. Meeting times. A whole network of communication hidden in plain sight. It's a mesh network, Maya breathed. Someone built an entire underground system for survivors to coordinate without using compromised official channels. Food distribution, medical supplies, safe routes. Daniel, this is brilliant. His hand found hers on the desk, fingers intertwining without thought. Elena was always brilliant. She kept saying the system was failing us, that we needed to build something better. I thought she was being paranoid. Maya squeezed his hand. She was being prepared. They worked through the night, peeling back layers of encryption. The second layer revealed community hubs, dozens of them scattered across the region. The third layer was personal messages, and that's where they found Elena's signature embedded in the code itself. To whoever finds this, the decoded message read, if you've made it this far, you're resourceful enough to help. We're building something new from the ruins. Not what was, but what should have been. Coordinates below. Come when ready. Bring skills, bring hope, bring others who still believe tomorrow exists. Signed, the Reconstruction Network. Daniel's voice cracked. She's alive. She's out there building this. Maya pulled up the coordinates. 3 days travel north, if the roads are passable. There's a settlement in the mountains. We should tell people, Daniel said, but his eyes were already distant, calculating. The relief team, the volunteers. They could use this network. Or, Maya said carefully, we could go there first. Make sure it's real, that it's safe. Then come back and guide others. Daniel looked at her, really looked at her, and Maya saw the moment he understood what she wasn't saying. This wasn't just about finding his sister. It was about finding purpose, about 2 broken people discovering they worked better as a whole. Together, he asked. Together, she confirmed. Outside, the rain finally stopped. Through the window, the first stars in weeks pierced the clearing clouds, tiny points of light in overwhelming darkness. Daniel stood and pulled Maya to her feet, and for a moment they just stood there, hands clasped, 2 survivors on the edge of something new. I haven't felt this terrified in months, he admitted. Maya smiled. Good. Means we're still alive enough to feel something. They spent the next 2 days preparing, gathering supplies and quietly recruiting 3 others who believed in Elena's vision. Each evening, they returned to the cramped office, decoding more of the network, learning its rhythms. And each evening, the space between them grew smaller until finally, on the night before departure, Daniel kissed her. It wasn't dramatic or desperate. It was gentle, certain, like coming home after a long journey. When they pulled apart, Maya rested her forehead against his. "Promise me something," she whispered. "Whatever we find out there, we face it together." "Always," Daniel said, and meant it with every broken piece of his heart. The generator hummed its steady song, and somewhere in the mountains, Elena's network waited to welcome them home. The mountain road was worse than they'd anticipated, cracked and overgrown with vegetation reclaiming what humanity had abandoned. Maya sat in the passenger seat of the battered truck they'd borrowed, watching Daniel navigate around fallen trees and washouts with the same careful attention he gave everything. Behind them, 3 others dozed fitfully. Sarah, a former teacher with medical training. Marcus, who'd been an electrician before the grid failed. And old Mr. Patterson, who simply said he was tired of waiting to die and wanted to feel useful again. 2 more miles according to the coordinates, Maya said, checking her tablet. The signal was stronger now, pulsing like a beacon. "Daniel, what if she doesn't want to be found? What if we're intruding?" He'd been quiet most of the journey, wrestling with hopes and fears in equal measure. "Then we apologize and offer our help anyway." Elena never turned away someone who needed purpose. The settlement appeared suddenly as they crested a ridge. Not the ramshackle survivor camp Maya had imagined, but an organized community of modified shipping containers, greenhouses, and solar arrays. Smoke rose from communal cooking fires, and she could hear children laughing, actual children, a sound nearly extinct in the cities. People emerged as their truck approached, cautious but not hostile. And then a woman broke from the group, running toward them with tears streaming down her face. Elena Rivers looked like her photograph but stronger, weathered by months of hard work and harder choices. Daniel was out of the truck before it fully stopped, catching his sister in an embrace that spoke of grief transformed into joy. "You found me," Elena sobbed into his shoulder. "I didn't think anyone would crack the encryption. I made it too difficult." "Maya did," Daniel said, pulling back to gesture at her. "She's brilliant. Stubborn. Incredible." Maya climbed out, suddenly shy under Elena's appraising gaze. But Elena crossed to her and pulled her into a hug. "Thank you for bringing him home. Thank you for being smart enough and brave enough to try." Over the next hours, Elena showed them everything. The settlement housed 200 people, with networks reaching a dozen other communities. They'd established trade routes, shared resources, built communication systems that the collapsed government couldn't control or corrupt. It was messy and imperfect and absolutely beautiful. "We need people like you," Elena said as they toured the operations center, a converted warehouse humming with servers powered by wind and solar. "Daniel, your architectural knowledge could help us plan expansion. Maya, if you can crack my encryption, you can design better security protocols. We're building something that'll outlast us." Maya found herself nodding before conscious thought caught up. Beside her, Daniel's hand found hers naturally, like they'd been doing this for years instead of days. That evening, the community gathered for dinner, a chaotic family meal where everyone contributed what they could. Maya sat between Daniel and a little girl named Sophie who peppered her with questions about computers. Across the fire, Marcus was already deep in conversation with the electrical team, and Mr. Patterson had found the community's elders, sharing stories and strategies. "You did this," Maya said to Elena, watching the scene with wonder. "You actually built tomorrow." Elena shook her head. "We're building it. All of us. Every person who chooses hope over despair, action over resignation. You two traveled 3 days because you believed something better existed. That's the foundation everything else is built on." Daniel squeezed Maya's hand, and she felt the rightness of it, how perfectly their broken pieces fit together to make something stronger. "So we stay?" he asked, though it wasn't really a question. "We stay," Maya confirmed. "We build." The weeks that followed blurred into purposeful exhaustion. Maya redesigned the network's security, creating encryption that adapted and learned. Daniel worked with the construction teams, planning sustainable expansions that worked with the landscape instead of against it. Evenings, they collapsed into the small cabin they'd been assigned, too tired for anything but holding each other and talking about the day's small victories. One night, 2 months after their arrival, Daniel pulled Maya onto the cabin's porch. The stars blazed overhead, unobscured by city lights that no longer existed. "I've been thinking," he said carefully. Dangerous habit, Maya teased, but her heart was racing. "Before the collapse, I had this whole life planned. Career trajectory, retirement accounts, a future that made sense on paper but felt empty." He turned to face her fully. "Losing everything was terrifying. But finding you, finding this place, finding purpose again. Maya, I don't want to go back to who I was. I want to become who I'm meant to be, and I want to do it with you." She kissed him then, long and deep, tasting hope and possibility and tomorrow. When they pulled apart, both were crying. "I love you," Maya whispered. "I love the man you are, the man you're becoming. I love that we're building something that matters." "Marry me," Daniel said. "Not because the old world says we should, but because I choose you. Every morning, every challenge, every small victory. I choose us." "Yes," Maya laughed through tears. "Yes, absolutely yes." They married 3 weeks later under the same stars that had guided them here, with Elena officiating and the entire community celebrating. It wasn't legal by any government standard, but it was real in ways that mattered more than paperwork. Sarah wove wildflowers into Maya's hair. Marcus rigged lights that transformed the clearing into magic. Mr. Patterson walked Maya down the aisle, proud as any father. That night, as they lay tangled together in their cabin, Maya traced patterns on Daniel's chest. "Do you ever miss the old world?" she asked quietly. He considered it seriously, the way he considered everything. "I miss the convenience, the certainty. But I don't miss the emptiness. We were so focused on surviving, on getting ahead, that we forgot to actually live. Here, every day matters. Every person matters. You matter to me more than anything I had before." "The signal brought us together," Maya mused. "Elena's network, your hope, my desperation. All these impossible chances aligned." "Maybe nothing's impossible," Daniel said. "Maybe we just needed to lose everything to realize what was actually worth saving." Months turned to seasons. The settlement grew, welcoming refugees who'd heard whispers of the mountain community where hope still lived. Maya's network expanded, connecting dozens of settlements into a web of mutual support. Daniel's designs helped communities across the region build sustainably, learning from past mistakes. And through it all, they worked side by side, two people who'd found each other in humanity's darkest hour and chosen to create light. One evening, a year after their arrival, Maya stood on the ridge overlooking the settlement with Daniel's arms wrapped around her from behind. Lights twinkled below, families gathering for dinner, children playing in the square, the hum of generators powering dreams into reality. "We did it," she said softly. "We actually did it." Daniel kissed her temple. "We're doing it. Every day, we choose this. Choose each other, choose hope, choose tomorrow." Below, Elena's voice called them to dinner, and they turned to descend, hand in hand. Behind them, the stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to human struggles but witness to human resilience. The old world was gone, buried under collapsed economies and broken systems. But from those ashes, something new was growing. Not perfect, never perfect. But real, and built on the foundation of people who refused to stop believing in each other. Maya looked at Daniel, her partner, her love, her choice, and saw her future reflected in his eyes. Not the future they'd been promised in the world before, but something better. Something they were creating together, one day, one decision, one act of love at a time. The generator hummed its steady song, and in the communications center, new signals pulsed outward, carrying Elena's message to anyone still listening: come when ready, bring hope, build tomorrow. And people came, drawn by stories of the mountain settlement where stars aligned in the ruins and love proved stronger than despair. They came broken and afraid, and they stayed to become builders, believers, survivors transformed into creators. Maya and Daniel welcomed them all, sharing their story as proof that endings could become beginnings, that sometimes you had to lose everything to find what truly mattered. In the ruins of the old world, they built something new. Not alone, never alone, but together. And that made all the difference. The end.